It happens on a random Tuesday. You're scrolling on your phone. A friend from college just bought a house. A former coworker just announced a massive promotion. Someone younger than you just launched a business. And suddenly, the air leaves the room. Your chest tightens. You open your banking app. You do the mental math of your age, your savings, and your salary. A quiet, heavy thought settles in. I am running out of time. I am behind. You aren't just comparing bank accounts anymore. You are mourning the timeline you thought you'd be on by now. This is the benchmark chaser. They are smart, capable, often highly educated. But they don't measure their financial success by their own progress. They measure it by the invisible clock of everyone around them. The rules were never officially written down, but they know them by heart. By 25, you should have the career path locked. By 30, the real estate and the investment portfolio. By 35, the compounding wealth. They didn't invent these milestones, but their nervous system treats them as absolute law. The benchmark chaser doesn't lack ambition. They lack context. They see the highlights of their peers, but they don't see the silent debt, the inherited down payments, or the quiet burnout. So when they look at their own life, the messy middle, the career pivot, the slow rebuilding of an emergency fund, they don't see a valid, normal path. They see a delay. They see personal failure. And the moment they decide they are behind, their entire relationship with money shifts. They stop playing a game of wealth creation. They start playing a game of frantic catch-up. When you believe you are behind, your financial strategy becomes a panic response. Let's break it down. Income behavior. The benchmark chaser stops looking for alignment. They look for acceleration. They take the promotion they don't actually want. They jump to a toxic company just for a 15% salary bump. They grind on 3 side hustles until their health breaks. Because every day they aren't advancing feels like a day they are losing ground. Patience feels like a luxury they can't afford. Spending behavior. They usually split into 2 extremes. Extreme 1, the illusion. They upgrade their lifestyle prematurely. They buy the car, rent the luxury apartment, or finance the trip. If they feel behind internally, they need to look successful externally. Extreme 2, the punishment. They restrict everything. They decline dinners. They cancel vacations. They hoard cash. They believe that because they are late, they don't deserve to enjoy the present. Investing behavior. Slow, steady compounding? That feels insulting. When you think you're 10 years late to the party, a standard index fund doesn't cut it. So they swing for the fences. They chase trends, high-risk assets, leverage trades. They try to condense a decade of wealth building into 6 months. Or they do the exact opposite. They freeze. They look at the gap between where they are and where they should be, and they paralyze. What's the point of starting now? Social behavior. This is the saddest part. They start ghosting their own lives. They mute their successful friends on social media. They avoid the college reunion. They stop celebrating other people's wins. Because someone else's milestone feels like a spotlight on their own perceived failure. Here is the pattern underneath it all. Panic limits perspective. And you cannot build generational wealth from a place of panic. Why does feeling behind physically hurt? Why does it cause your chest to tighten? Because your nervous system isn't reacting to a bank account. It's reacting to a survival threat. For hundreds of thousands of years, human beings survived by staying in the middle of the pack. If you fell behind the tribe, you lost access to food. You lost protection. You became prey. Your brain is evolutionary hardwired to constantly monitor your status relative to your peers. Falling behind meant death. Today, the tribe isn't 50 people in a village. It's 5,000 people on a feed. And the metrics of survival have changed. We don't track who brought back the most resources. We track who bought the house, who got the ring, who hit 6 figures first. When you see a peer hit a milestone you haven't, your brain doesn't just say, good for them. Your amygdala fires and says, we are losing our place in the tribe. We are in danger. That's why the panic feels so physical. But here is the ultimate psychological trap. You are comparing your internal, messy reality to their heavily edited, external timeline. You see the house. You don't see the crushing mortgage or the parental down payment. You see the promotion. You don't see the burnout or the nepotism. You see the ring. You don't see the credit card debt used to buy it. We measure our step 3 against someone else's step 10, and we label ourselves failures. And here is the tragedy of this biological response. When you operate from a state of perceived danger, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for long-term planning and logic, literally shuts down. You cannot build a 20-year wealth strategy when your brain thinks you're going to be left behind to die tomorrow. Now we project this panic into the future. Because your financial reality in 10 years is entirely dependent on which game you choose to play today. Let's fast forward 10 years. You are now 40. Path 1. The catch-up chase. You spent the last decade trying to close an invisible gap. You took on leverage to look the part. A mortgage that stretches your monthly cash flow to the breaking point. Car payments that drain your investable surplus. You took wild swings in the market trying to 10x your money overnight and lost half of it instead. On paper, to the outside world, it looks like you caught up. You have the house. You have the title. You post the vacations. But internally, your net worth is incredibly fragile. You didn't build a financial foundation. You built a facade. You are exhausted, over-leveraged, and still secretly checking everyone else's score. Path 2. The timeline reset. Same starting point. Same income. Different biological response. You accepted you were on your own clock. You stopped checking your college roommate's LinkedIn. You focused on your own cash flow. You invested boringly, consistently. You rented a few years longer to stack cash and buy assets instead of liabilities. You passed on the flashy job for the one that built your actual skill set. By 40, your life might look a little quieter from the outside, but internally, you are bulletproof. Your wealth is real, not rented. The compounding has finally taken over. You don't feel behind anymore. You feel free. Because wealth isn't about being the first one to cross an arbitrary finish line. It's about building a life you don't need to escape from. To stop feeling behind, you must realize the race you are running doesn't actually exist. You are running on a track someone else painted. Here is how you step off. Step 1. Drop the borrowed timeline. Ask yourself, who actually told you that you needed a house by 30? Was it your own core values? Or was it an algorithm? When you borrow someone else's milestones, you inherit their pressure. You have to define what enough looks like for you right now. Not what looks impressive to your hometown. What feels secure to your nervous system. Step 2. Measure velocity, not position. Position is where you are compared to the guy on Instagram. Velocity is your speed and direction compared to where you were last year. Did you pay off a small debt? Did your income go up? Did you finally start an emergency fund, even a small one? If your velocity is positive, you are not behind. You are building. Compounding doesn't care about your age. It only cares about your consistency. Step 3. Grieve the fantasy. This is the hardest part. You have to mourn the idea that you are going to have it all figured out by 25. Let that fantasy die. Because holding on to the ghost of that timeline is keeping you paralyzed in the present. The moment you accept exactly where you are, without shame, the panic stops. And when the panic stops, the real wealth building begins. You are not behind. You are just finally running your own race. So, take a breath. Look at your own numbers. And take the next right step. Which borrowed milestone is keeping you trapped right now? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. In the next video, we'll break down another financial identity pattern that might be quietly running your life. Until then, stop looking sideways. Start building forward.